From the apocalyptic secrets of the oldest temple in the world to the bizarre symbolism of King Charles's coronation invitation, today we'll be exploring hidden meanings and ancient monuments. The Göbekli Tepe secret. Göbekli Tepe is considered the oldest temple in the world, an enigma of archaeology that scientists simply can't understand. In one of the more recent analyses of symbols carved onto the stones of this ancient site, scientists found evidence of an apocalyptic event that happened 13,000 years ago. It might be this mysterious event that killed the mammoths. Göbekli Tepe is located in Turkey, built around the year 9000 BC by an unknown group of humans. To give you some perspective, this wildly advanced temple was built 6,000 years before Stonehenge. The engineering genius that went into making the temple is on par with civilizations that existed 500 years ago. It's utterly baffling that Göbekli Tepe exists. It's so old and so unexplainable that many biblical scholars think it was the real site of the Garden of Eden. And now let me tell you about the recent analysis. Scientists from the University of Edinburgh discovered evidence that carvings on the ancient stones show a comet impact. The ancient people didn't write about the event in words. Instead, they carved images on the tall stone pillars of the temple showing a cosmic incident. Scientists believe the temple may have been constructed as a memorial to a comet impact. The impact clearly wasn't as terrible as the one that killed the dinosaurs, but it was still destructive enough it likely killed off the mammoths and other huge woolly mammals. The Anunnaki handbags. You won't find a more mysterious symbol in ancient carvings across the globe than this, the handbag. Maybe it's a bucket, or maybe it's a woven satchel of some kind, but for now, it's known in archaeological circles as the handbag. The symbol is most famous for its presence in depictions of the ancient Sumerian gods known as the Anunnaki. These carvings can be seen in ruins across the deserts of Iraq. However, similar symbols have been found in art on the other side of the globe. The Anunnaki handbags look suspiciously like similar decorations found in the Maori culture of New Zealand and in the ruins of the Olmec civilization of Central America. The first known instance of such a symbol appearing was at the end of the Ice Age. In most cases, the handbag features a round handle and a rectangular bottom. Sometimes it has different textures or patterns on it. And almost always, the handbag is being carried by a powerful mythical being, usually a god. What do these unusual artifacts represent? Some scholars believe the handbag is a representation of the cosmos. The handle represents the sky, while the square base represents Earth. Another possibility is that the bag is meant to represent a bucket of knowledge, which the mythical beings passed down to humans. The oldest handbag is at the top of a mountain ridge in Turkey, at a place I already told you about today. Yes, the oldest temple in the world, Göbekli Tepe. The ancient temple is home to what's believed to be the first representation of a cosmic handbag. 3 of them to be exact. Could Göbekli Tepe have been the first place the gods passed down knowledge to simple ape-brained humans? And now for a quick break, because it's shout-out time. I wanted to give a big thank you to Brett Venice and Tracy, the itch instructor, for supporting this channel. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and join us. The Sudanese mini pyramids. There's a collection of tiny pyramids in Sudan that have a larger-than-life history. These pyramids, forgotten by time, hold secrets of one of the world's most exciting African kingdoms. In 730 BC, about 2,000 years after Egyptian pharaoh Khufu commissioned the building of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the armies of Nubia attacked. The Nubians invaded Egypt as it teetered on the brink of civil collapse and took over the place. It was a strange period in history because Egypt, once so obsessed with building monuments, had abandoned the practice. They weren't building gigantic tombs anymore. They weren't building pyramids to try and scrape the clouds. The Egyptians had nearly bankrupted themselves by creating their many marvels. With the Egyptians facing financial hardship, the Nubians saw their chance to move up in the world. They ruled Egypt for about 100 years, and things were good, but it didn't last long. In 656 BC, the Nubians were defeated and kicked back down the Nile into their homeland of what is currently the country of Sudan. Feeling a little disheartened, the Nubians went about copying the architectural style of the Egyptians. They decided to create their own versions of Egyptian monuments. At the Royal Cemetery of Meroe, there stand about 80 miniature pyramids. They were built as fancy tombstones for the kings and queens of the Meroitic culture culture of Nubia. However, such little archaeological work has been done in Sudan that the true meaning of the pyramids has been lost. They aren't even pointy anymore, with most of them nothing but square blocks of eroded stone. The miniature pyramids at Meroe have been known of for a very long time, but only recently did French archaeologists find more tiny pyramids 450 miles away at a rural necropolis in Stonehenge. Vincent Francini from the American Museum of Natural History called it a crazy sight. The finds here almost defy belief. There have been 35 identified so far, with the smallest pyramid being a mere 30 inches across. These pyramids are even tinier than the ones at the Royal Cemetery of Meroe, where some pyramids are 100 feet tall. But what is the hidden meaning behind the pyramids? Vincent said that between 300 BC and 350 AD, Nubian pyramids were built strictly for people with noble blood. It would have been sacrilege to erect a pyramid above a non-royal's grave. But with the discovery of the tiny pyramids at Stonehenge, things appear to have changed. Later in Nubian history, wealthy people started erecting pyramids for themselves. They weren't as big, but they were still pyramids and must have been very classy for the era. In Egypt, it's believed the pyramids were meant to be symbols of the sun. But what were the pyramids meant to represent in Nubia? Did they have any meaning, or were the pyramids used as displays of wealth? Their original purpose long forgotten. The Spanish tomb. In southern Spain, there is a very large rock structure that looks as if it's being pushed out of the ground. It is so big that it dominates the landscape, making it hard to miss. The stone monument is natural, a perfectly ordinary geological formation. At the same time, the rock formation almost looks like the face of a man staring toward the sky. The ancient stone recently revealed a secret it had been hiding for 5,000 years. This is Antiquera, a mixture of man-made monuments and natural formations that hasn't changed much in the past 6,000 years. The area is mostly famous for its prehistoric megaliths. It's dotted with stone structures carved by human hands during the 4th millennium BC. It's an official site with UNESCO World Heritage because of the human constructions. Yet the natural monuments are almost as exciting as the artificial ones. The giant rock I just told you about is called La Pena de los Enamorados, or the Lover's Rock. Some call it the Sleeping Giant. The formation looms an incredible 2,900 feet high. The rock is natural, but scientists just discovered something that isn't. Archaeologists uncovered a tomb that had somehow been overlooked. It's a megalithic grave that was carved into the sleeping giant in around 3000 BC. Archaeologists have already identified 3 distinct phases when it was used for burying people. Then around 1950 BC, the megalithic tomb was abandoned. Researchers were shocked nobody had found the tomb before. It's an incredibly large monument to have been missed by countless excavations. It's also seriously impressive. The stone slabs of the grave were placed carefully so that on the sunrise of the summer solstice, sunlight beamed into the tomb like the shining eye of God. The tomb was also used in a unique way. Bodies weren't placed in their own graves or niches like in other prehistoric tombs. Archaeologists identified a stone platform near the front of the tomb. They believe bodies were placed on the platform while they decayed. Then they were pushed off the platform into a hollow pit behind it. Inside the pit, archaeologists found over 95 bones from skeletal corpses. The Caramore Monument. Archaeologists in Ireland recently discovered a megalithic monument that is unlike anything else ever found in the country. It's baffling researchers who are currently trying to understand its prehistoric past. The discovery of the ancient monument took place at the Caramore megalithic cemetery in Sligo. Researchers were searching for graves when they uncovered the unusual structure. For a bit of background, Caramore is home to the largest collection of megalithic tombs in Ireland. It's also one of the oldest cemeteries of its kind in Europe. This latest monument was radiocarbon dated, found to be about 6,600 years old. But according to Irish folklore, the tombs are even older. Local myth says the tombs came from the legendary Battle of Moy Tuiread. This was when the race of powerful beings known as the Tuatha De Danann arrived in Ireland and defeated the Firbolgs. Irish legend claims the Tuatha De Danann were a supernatural race of beings who ruled Ireland as the first kings and queens. They are depicted in Irish myth as healers, bards, warriors, and druids. They were were truly beings from a fantasy world with magical powers, able to traverse the other realms of existence. They could speak with the fairies and harness the power of nature. Scientists doubt the Tuatha De Danann were real, instead calling them the deities of Gaelic Ireland before the days of Christianity. However, there are still many people who believe the myths are true. Maybe the Tuatha De Danann were the real kings and queens of the island, come from a faraway land. Maybe they were descendants of gods or power-wielding druids from an ancient lineage. When the Christians arrived in Ireland, the Tuatha De Danann suddenly became fallen angels. In more modern times, the legends changed and they became known as fairy folk. But what about the monument that was just discovered? It is partly underground, circular in shape and surrounded by a ditch. Scientists from Sligo's Institute of Technology conducted a thorough study of the monument. They found that it wasn't a burial, but more like a platform. It was a massive circular feature that almost looks like it would have been used as a stage, perhaps where a druid shaman stood to address the crowd. Right now, the monument's true secrets remain hidden. Jesus and the Evil Eye. An inscription has been found above a doorframe in Israel. The inscription is 1500 years old, evidence of a bizarre mix between early Christian ideas and ancient Jewish superstitions. The inscription was found in a place whose name just about everybody knows. It was uncovered in the village of Et Tiba, which is in the valley of Megiddo, aka Armageddon. According to Christian texts, it is in this valley where the final battle between the Lord's forces of good and the Antichrist's forces of darkness will duke it out. Above the doorway of a building from the 5th century AD, a building which is in utter ruins by the way, the inscription was carved in Greek. The building was probably some sort of dwelling, though it's difficult to say. During the early Islamic period, it was incorporated into a different structure. The original purpose is lost, but researchers were able to identify a pair of rooms covered in ancient mosaic flooring, which was very cool, plus the inscription reading, Christ born of Mary. This work of the most God-fearing and pious bishop, Theodosius, and the miserable Thomas was built from the foundation. Whoever enters should pray for them. There is a lot to unpack in the inscription. Let's start with Theodosius, who was one of the earliest Christian bishops in history. His religious authority spread through the city of Bet Shean and beyond. Finding his name in the Valley of Armageddon shows the power of the Byzantine Church 500 years after the death of Christ. The hidden meaning behind the inscription is a little less obvious. According to researchers with the Israel Antiquities Authority, the writing was meant as a protective spell. It would have been common for people to write Jesus' name above their doorways as a way to provide their families with protection from the evil eye. There have been a lot of similar engravings found at sites across Byzantine territories. As Christianity spread, it mingled with Jewish beliefs that were around much earlier. People were afraid of the evil eye and of other dark magics. They invoked the name of Jesus Christ as a way to ward off bad vibes. The Rongo language. Researchers, for the first time ever, have created a 3D model of a seriously mysterious tablet. The tablet was discovered on Easter Island, covered in the indecipherable Rongo script. Basically, the most mysterious language from the most mysterious island in the world. In the 19th century, several tablets inscribed with a strange system of writing were discovered on Easter Island. Scientists quickly realized they were dealing with an ancient language that none of them had any hope of deciphering. Even throughout the 20th and 21st century, scientists have failed at every attempt to read the lost language of the tablets. Now, researchers are using modern technology to bring this hidden meaning of the glyphs on the tablets to the surface. Scientists at the Berlin Ethnographic Museum used thousands of what are called photogrammetric photographs to make the 3D model of the tablet. They also conducted a botanical analysis and a radiocarbon dating analysis. They learned something truly shocking. The tablet is not nearly as ancient as some had anticipated. It was made no earlier than 1810, carved from a chunk of wood from the Portia tree on Easter Island. While it only looked like one side of the tablet was covered in glyphs, the 3D model showed both sides were originally inscribed. The glyphs are worn, though, invisible to the naked eye. This is where the fun stops. Although scientists know where the wood came from and when it was made, the Rongo script still escapes them. The secrets of the original Easter Island people are no closer to being revealed. The Pyramid of Teon. There is a seemingly ordinary hilltop in Mexico that has seen civilizations rise and fall. It is the hill of Teoton, located outside San Pedro Yanquitlalpan, Puebla. It's surrounded by fields and orchards with larger mountains rising far away in the distance. Teoton doesn't look like much to the average eye, just a hill of grass. But according to locals, Teoton is a hidden pyramid, the biggest pyramid in the world. Do you know which pyramid is currently accepted as the largest in the world? I'll give you a hint, it's not in Egypt. The largest pyramid by volume on the planet is Tlachihueltepetl in Cholula, Mexico. Yet according to stories that have been told around Puebla for centuries, Teoton is bigger. Even the word Teoton holds great power. In the Nahuatl language, it means divine god. For the indigenous ancestors of the local population, Teoton was an important ceremonial center. It likely began as a hill over 3,000 years ago, but then between 1000 and 850 BC, it was covered in stones. Brick after brick was stacked onto the hill until the biggest pyramid the world has ever seen reached the sky as an epic temple. But is this true or false? Sadly, it's a really difficult question to answer because there isn't much evidence to work with. There is a mysterious feature called El Aguila which stands near the top of the alleged pyramid. It's like the rock in The Lion King where Simba is held up for the animal kingdom to see. Only at Teoton, rumor is the stone outcrop was used as a sacrificial altar. But even locals can't agree, as others claim there were no sacrifices at Teoton. Local tour guide Santos Popoca Fernandez said Teoton was strictly a place of life. The grassy hill could be Mexico's greatest monument, or it could be nothing at all. Teoton's secrets, like the secrets of so many ancient monuments in the world, remain unknown. The Hidden Cupid. In 1979, art historians subjected one of the most valuable paintings in the world to X-ray analysis. They discovered a painting within the painting. Now, for the first time ever, the hidden meaning of this great artwork has been revealed. Vermeer's Girl Reading a Letter at an Open Window isn't exactly a monument like the ones I've been telling you about so far today, but it's certainly a monument of artistic ambition. Johannes Vermeer painted this masterpiece between 1657 and 1659. It shows a young woman reading a letter in front of an open window, just as the title suggests. The woman is framed by the window and the green curtain, with nothing behind her but a pale white wall, except 300 years ago, on the wall above the young woman's head hung a painting of Cupid. It's a shockingly large painting that takes up a huge amount of room, steering the eye away from the girl reading the letter. Art historians discovered the existence of the Cupid over 40 years ago. They had assumed Vermeer painted over the figure himself when he was finished because he didn't like the way it looked. But German historians recently removed the overpainting, revealing the hidden Cupid. And during the process, they learned it wasn't Vermeer at all who covered up the Cupid. It was somebody else in the 18th century that painted over it. This was after Vermeer died. The discovery has left art interpreters scratching their heads and feeling a little embarrassed. Everyone is forced now to rethink how the painting is supposed to be interpreted. What is the true meaning of girl reading a letter at an open window? What did Vermeer want people to feel when they looked at the image? Not to mention, why did someone erase Cupid? How many other masterpieces from history have been manipulated over the centuries? Buried Stonehenge. There has been a lot of groundbreaking research done at Stonehenge over the past decade. One of the most shocking projects focused on uncovering what is buried beneath England's most legendary monument. After 4 years of collaboration between British and Austrian scientists, researchers revealed their findings. They uncovered something truly astonishing. There are over 15 monuments hidden underneath the site of Stonehenge and its surrounding area. Monuments such as other henges, ditches, pits, and barrows. Stonehenge is only the tip of the iceberg. The monument has more secrets than researchers know what to do with. The underground monuments prove that this was one of the most important landscapes in human history. People didn't just come to see this stone circle in the middle of a vast field. It was an entire complex with different structures and multiple stone circles. Researchers say there were likely enormous crowds who came to Stonehenge 4,600 years ago. Maybe they came for the summer solstice, maybe the winter solstice. Scientists can't agree on which was most significant to the Druids of Salisbury Plain. But there was a lot more going on than just a solstice viewing. Experts will probably never know what really happened here, even if they dig up every square inch of land. The Worthy Woman. Inside a spooky Egyptian catacomb, archaeologists found a mysterious carving depicting a woman in an elaborate dress. The unusual carving was made about 2,000 years ago, during the Roman era in Egypt. The carving has proved to be quite exciting. A team of researchers from Egypt and Japan discovered a hidden catacomb in Saqqara as part of a joint operation. Saqqara is the name of one of the biggest burial grounds in Egypt. It served as the royal necropolis for the first rulers, who called themselves pharaohs, and for government officials in the capital, Memphis. Saqqara continued to be used even when the Romans took over Egypt, meaning it's chocked full of mummies and catacombs. While the team explored the underground tombs, they came across the carving of our mystery woman in her elaborate dress. Intrigued, expert on Roman Egypt Roger Bagnall translated the Greek inscription. It turns out the carving was made of a woman named Demetria and her pet. She was laid to rest in a beautifully decorated catacomb. The carving is of her and either a dog or a cat. It's impossible to tell. The inscription reads, Demetria, daughter of Menelaus, granddaughter of Ammonia, worthy, farewell. Yes, I know what you're thinking, and it's true. Ancient Egyptian people were named Ammonia. The carving in the catacomb isn't a great revelation that's going to change history, but I'm sure if Demetria knew people would still be talking about her 2,000 years after her death, she would be pleased. The Viking Winter. The rockstone is a Viking runestone from the 9th century that could have something to do with one of the worst winters Scandinavia has ever suffered. It's one of the most famous runestones on the planet, and now, thanks to a new study, scientists think the runestone may have been erected out of horror and fear. The Vikings built the stone as a way to ward off a potential climate crisis. Let me tell you a few things about this very special rock. It was erected over 1,100 years ago at the edge of Lake Vättern in Sweden. It has the longest runic inscription on it that's ever been discovered. Over 700 runes cover 5 sides of the stone. For many years, scientists believe the stone was put next to the lake as a memorial to a dead man. Because of the difficulty in reading the 700 runes, parts of the translation are missing. The runestone was also carved in a variety of different writing forms, making it hugely tough to transcribe. But there are a few reliable translations. One section talks about the heroic acts of a person named Theodoric. Scholars think Theodoric is probably meant to be the Theodoric, also known as Theodoric the Great of the Ostrogoths, who ruled in Italy after the fall of Rome. There is a lot more going on here than meets the eye. Researchers from 3 separate universities in Sweden got together to intensively study the rock stone. Now they have a much better understanding of it. The Swedish scientists believe the inscription talks about a catastrophe that happened in the 6th century. In 536 AD, it's believed a volcanic eruption caused ash to block out the sun above Scandinavia. The resulting cold killed the crops and caused mass extinctions. The human population dropped by about 50% in the Viking territories in the 6th century. It was such a terrible event that the memory of it stuck around even as the centuries went by. 300 years later, this runestone was erected to remind people of the horrors of the year without summer. King Charles's coronation. If you'd like to get a taste of the vast hidden symbolism of the British royal family, you've come to the right place. In May 2023, King Charles II and Queen Camilla had their coronation at Westminster Abbey. In the days before the coronation, an invitation was sent to their most prestigious guests. The invitation, revealed by Buckingham Palace, looked like what you would expect a royal coronation invitation to look like. Lots of floral patterns and fancy fonts. But if you look deeper, you'll see powerful symbols dating back to ancient times. At the center of the design is a green face shrouded in green leaves. This isn't an ordinary face, but rather the face of the green man crowned in foliage and formed from oak, ivy, and hawthorn leaves. Nobody knows how long the green man has been part of English folklore, but it's definitely been a long time. He's an ancient symbol of rebirth and spring, with his foliage-shaped face becoming a major aspect of English architecture in the 12th century. Many scholars believe the green man dates back to the early days of the Iron Age, when Celtic tribes wore masks of leaves in strange ritual ceremonies. Surrounding the invitation is a quiet floral pattern, but it's far from random. Each flower represents something important. The dog roses are for love and beauty. The lily of the valley was Queen Elizabeth's favorite flower and represents a return to happiness. Then there are the national flowers like the thistle for Scotland, clovers for Northern Ireland, yellow daffodils for Wales, and the Tudor rose for England. You may have also noticed a few friends from the natural world. The bees and butterflies are supposed to symbolize Charles's dedication to the environment. Then there are the big animals. The lion is the symbol of England, representing courage and strength. The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. The boar comes from Camilla's coat of arms. What do you think about the wedding invitation? Have you ever seen one more impressive? The Herculaneum Scrolls. Thanks to artificial intelligence, a series of scrolls from one of the worst disasters in human history are now available to read. In the year 79, just about 2,000 years ago, Mount Vesuvius in Italy erupted. It didn't just destroy Pompeii, the city buried under ash. It also destroyed the seaside resort town of Herculaneum. Herculaneum was like Roman Florida, hot and balmy and full of retirees. But after the volcano blew its top, everyone was incinerated. Archaeologists have found a lot of amazing things in Herculaneum, such as these ancient scrolls. I understand they don't look like scrolls, appearing more like giant chunks of coal, but I assure you these were once rolled up pieces of papyri. The issue scientists have had is that the documents are impossible to unroll without crumbling into dust. Nobody ever thought the Herculaneum scrolls would be deciphered because, well, look at them. How would you decipher something like this? The answer is artificial intelligence. After 2 millennia, a full word from an unopened scroll found in Herculaneum has been decoded. The word isn't particularly exciting. Scientists at the University of Nebraska deciphered the Greek word for purple, porphyros. It's just one word for now, but there will hopefully be more words soon. As for how scientists are able to do this, it's pretty complicated. They use computer tomography scans, X-rays, and AI. Researchers are able to virtually flatten the scrolls, then scan them with AI to pick up vestiges of ink. Soon, when this technology advances a little more, history once thought lost will be brought to life. Witch symbols. The shoulder of mutton is a tea room in Essex, England. The tea room is seriously old, dating back 750 years. With such a long history, it's no surprise that the tea room has seen some strange things over the years, especially because it's in Essex, a place with dark ties to the forbidden history of witchcraft. In the middle of the 1500s, around 1,000 people were accused of practicing witchcraft throughout Essex. According to the Colchester and Ipswich Museum, there were also about 1,000 people executed for witchcraft. They had a very effective accusation-to-execution pipeline. Witch paranoia spread throughout the region, causing people to resort to their own sort of magic. To keep away practitioners of witchcraft, people carved symbols in the doorways and other parts of their house. They believed certain symbols had power to ward away evildoers. It was one of these mysterious symbols that was just found at the shoulder of mutton. The Colchester City Council announced the discovery of a hexafoil carved into the timber beams of the former pub. The hexafoil symbol looks kind of like a pinwheel, but with a line carved through it. The idea was that any evil spirit trying to enter the building would become disoriented by the hexafoil, preventing it from doing harm. Ancient cave paintings. On the Iberian coast in Spain, archaeologists have discovered what they believe could be the most important cave art site in Europe. Over 100 strange yet fascinating paintings were uncovered inside a dark cave. The paintings, along with a handful of carvings, are estimated to be 24,000 years old. But why are they so exciting, and what kinds of secrets do they keep? First of all, let me tell you the cave, called Cova Dones, isn't new to anyone. It's a popular hiking destination visited by people for centuries. But nobody noticed the Paleolithic paintings all over the walls until scientists from the University of Southampton visited in 2021. University scientists have now spent the last few seasons studying the cave. They're trying to gain a grasp of the immensity of the hidden symbolism inside the cavern. What were prehistoric people trying to convey by drawing pictures on the walls? It's a question that scientists are desperate to answer. In this particular cavern, archaeologists have identified 19 animal representations. Creatures such as the extinct aurochs and wild European horses. But there are also signs and symbols that have no modern meaning. Could this have been an ancient language shared by Neanderthals and primitive humans? The Inga Stone. Deep in the jungle of Brazil, standing in the Inga River, is a stone. It is a humongous stone, about 150 feet long and 13 feet tall. Covering almost its entire length are strange, unidentified geometric symbols. The symbols don't make any sense to modern scientists. In fact, modern scientists don't understand anything about the stone. Nobody knows who carved it, exactly how old it is, or what the symbols are trying to tell us. There is a lot of speculation, though. Some think the Brazilian monument, known only only as the Inga stone was carved by an Amazonian civilization. There are rumors it was carved using ancient technology that's been forgotten, but these are only theories. The humongous stone is at least 6,000 years old. It should honestly be considered one of the greatest wonders of the ancient world, yet few know it even exists. The carvings, unlike the etchings found in Spain that I just told you about, are insanely intricate. They are far more sophisticated than what you typically expect with prehistoric carvings. It appears as if the ancients responsible had a lot of practice making carvings. The Inga stone is essentially a block of stone that's been covered in images of weapons, humanoids, birds, food, and things from the cosmos. Several of the symbols might be celestial in nature. Scientists have compared a few of the patterns to the Milky Way and the constellation of Orion, suggesting astronomical knowledge. Professor Rollum, an expert in Greek and Latin theology, once argued the symbols look like Phoenician carvings. Who do you think created the Inga stone? Let me know in the comments, and thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to come back soon and remember to subscribe for all the latest from the channel.